Three, two, one. Jay Shrek, the Finish Strong podcast, a spiritual solution to a world in crisis. And here we go today with another exciting podcast. We're going to bring in C.H. Smith. Here he is right here. Boom. Johnny, you better get her cranked up. Let's go.
Crank it up today. Let's crank it up there, Jay Shrek.
Let's get going. I'm ready to go. Are you ready to go? Bring you in a little tighter.
You know, you got me really excited when we were having coffee this morning that these topics are spot on. So I didn't know about it. I used Grok last night, Grok that is, and dialed it in, but super excited about this. I think it's going to be beneficial for everybody.
Well, I tell you, Grok hasn't impressed me as much as he did today. Today, I was like, this is fire. Grok is fire today. And maybe he has more information because it's so hot right now. You know, the world on fire right now. Absolutely. Maybe there is more information of what's going on. Maybe this topic is trending now, as you might say, in the world of media.
Yep. And when we say Grok, we're not talking about Gronk, the football player. We're talking about Grok, XAI.
XAI.
Just for specifics. So let's jump right into this.
Let's do it.
We had an incredible pod. And first off, let me thank everybody for jumping in here. But this is a 30-minute lightning round of topics, and really excited about this. And thank you for joining the podcast. Last week, we went through these 10 rhythms that I had been working on establishing in daily habits to find success spiritually. And I will tell you, it was a great week. I used those disciplines, but here's some of the things that I think we should talk to when I was utilizing Grok and talking to you this morning over coffee. First thing in the morning when I woke up, I was looking on X, shout out to X, and I saw this TikTok video of this young girl. And we talked about what's going on in the younger generation last week. I cited some statistics out of the United Kingdom where 56% of young adults 18 to 24 have experienced some type of anxiety where in a 2-week period, they didn't do something. They didn't attend an event or something like that. So I was like, wow, that is huge. We talked about it last week. So I saw this TikTok video, and this young girl, probably right in that range, is freaking out because she's addicted to TikTok. And then she talks about attention deficit disorder and on and on and on. I was like, oh my goodness, the topic we talked about last week on anxiety is real. What do you think about that, Jeff?
Well, you know, I think there's a new addiction out there, and I'm going to call it, and I'm going to coin this phrase, mediaism, right? Maybe like alcoholism or drug addiction, but it's mediaism, where you get addicted to looking at your phone. You get addicted to thinking you need to know what's going on every second of the day. And you find yourself in those habits and those patterns that you can't keep from looking at your phone and what's going on, regardless of what content you're looking at. You can't help it. And even if it was good content, sometimes you need to put it down and put it in your pocket. If you drive down the road in your neighborhood and you go by bus stops where children are getting ready to get on the bus, one thing you'll notice is that they don't talk to each other. They're all sitting or standing around a circle looking at their phones, and none of them are communicating anymore.
Yeah.
And how do you have a community, which we'll talk about later, if you don't communicate?
Wow. I never thought about that. That's crazy. Yeah, I spent so much time growing up in creeks and all sorts of stuff, throwing rocks, not really needing anything, just outside. We talked about being out in the environments when I was growing up. And I mean, what a blessing that was looking back.
Well, look at even the video games. Now I'm a gamer from the back of the day of Pong. I had the original first video game, so I'm the OG when it comes
Yeah,
to
I'm an
gaming. So
Atari
even
guy.
though I'm
Let's
ancient,
go,
right?
Atari.
But that is how people spend their lives today is they get locked into these games and it's another form of media, right? It's mediaism and you can't stop. You know, you're addicted to looking at your phone. You're addicted to these devices, which what is really doing is is stealing your time, Charlie. That's really what this is doing is it's stealing your soul. It really is. It's competing against your community for time spent. And you know, we only have so much time. And if 80% of that time is connected to a device, that in a sense becomes your higher power. And that's
Mm.
not a power that's going to get you down the road.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like you couldn't do that back in the day because when you were playing asteroids, you remember after 30 minutes, your head started hurting on a black and white TV because it was flickering so much.
Well, at Pong, the first game I ever had was like this, and you could watch paint dry as you went clunk. Sorry for that
No, I
look.
get it. It does feel like to that point as far as technology, not to beat a dead horse, but TikTok seems like their algorithms, and I've talked to you about this back in during the COVID time. I got on TikTok, and my daughter was a TikTok representative at the University of Arizona, like before this was a thing, and I got addicted. I could sit on there for 2 hours straight just flicking, and it was so entertaining. And I was just like, there was a point after doing this for like 6 months, and everybody was homebound, right? You were looking for something for entertainment that I just decided I deleted the app and I said, I can't do this anymore.
Here's what's scary about this. You bring up a great point. Here's what's really scary about this is that, you know, some people that are addicted to drugs or addicted to alcohol or whatever their substance of choice may be, not everybody can be an alcoholic. They can't, right? If you don't have that in you, you don't have it in you. The scariest thing about this mediaism is that everybody can become addicted to it. You know, it's not one specific group of people. It's everybody. You know, well, that I didn't plan on that one, but that was my tree guy who was just here.
That's great.
Which is awesome. But so yeah, anybody can become addicted to this. It's not just unique little world. We all can get involved. My wife, who's about as normal gets, still gets on her phone. And man, that's hours in the evening. And she's not unique. She's just, that's average today. I'm not beating her up, but you know, that's an average thing we all can become addicted to, you know, if we don't look at it.
No, I get you. Let me close this out. I mean, I think we could talk to this a long time, but we got a few subjects we to jump into. So I want to do something a little bit different. We're going to close this out in prayer. So on this topic, 2 Corinthians 4:8-9, we are hard pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed. This passage speaks to resilience and faith, right, in the midst of adversity. And you know, this comes back to you've got to have faith to get you through this stuff. If you're just living in this world, right, you become a part of this world in crisis.
Absolutely. I mean, and again, you know, this is a topic that we could go on for days, but you know what? We don't have days, Charlie. What's the next topic?
So next topic, and this is a great segue. We're going to talk about the role of community in spiritual growth. So it sounds like, hey, what are solutions if you're like just stuck in this crisis mode in social media? That would be one example. But I think about community in my life and the mentor. I have a mentor that I hook up with, who's about two steps in front of me every Monday. And that individual is part of my community. I have other people that I reach out on a weekly basis. I feel like you're a part of my community, Jeff. And, you know, I learned so much by the community, and they also help me accountable. What about you?
You know, the problem with this is just what we kind of segued into the last section was that to have a community, you have to have communication. And that's the problem, is that we have to get outside of ourselves, our selfish self-centeredness, because we all are, right? To some degree, we're worried about me. I'm worried about what's going to happen to me. And how do I get out of that? Is I have to find people to put in this community. And if I have to find people, I think it's critical. I think your whole mental wellness is depending upon the people in your life. I truly do. And what happens with this media is it steals your friendships because you spend more time. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of time to have friendships. It takes a lot of your energy to pick up the phone and call these people in your life. And what happens is we get lost in these games. We get lost in this media, and then all of a sudden we don't pick up that phone because we don't have people to call. And how are we going to have community if we don't have communication? That's kind of what, but community is directly related to my spiritual well-being directly. Your thoughts?
Well, when you were talking there, I was, wanted to use Grok AI here to see what the percentage of community actually, you triggered a thought, who have a mentor-mentee relationship. So I guess there's two things we're talking about. One is having a mentor-mentee relationship, and another one is having a community. And so what's your take on what's more important and how do you balance those? Because you've had a mentor for a long time. I know you're shifting your mentor kind of in the process right now. What's more important, the community or the mentor, and how do you look at that? Or do you even think about that?
I don't think it being separate. Through mentorship, I realized how important community was, but then it also could be that community could lead to mentorship. I mean, I see them being either way. It could go either way. In my specific world, it comes down to a fact that because I've been given a gift, then I have to give that gift back if I want to keep that gift. And that's as simple as I can put it. And part of that is finding that community. But what I learned through mentorship was that how do we keep these group of people together? However big, right? How do you keep them together? You keep them together by communication and community, right? That's the solution to this. What I hope happens, Charlie, because I do believe that one single person can change the world. And I think two can change it a little quicker. How's that?
Yeah.
But the reality of it is I hope what we do is we build that community on this site where people feel like they have a voice. They feel like somebody's out there that cares and that there's somewhere for them to turn to when they're in crisis, because we're all going to be in crisis at one time or another. I mean, the world's not fair. It's never going to be fair, and it's not supposed to be fair. We're going to have situations. We're going to have deaths. We're going to have great joys, and we're going to have great dismal failures, right? And through all that, where are we going to go and how are we going to share that? That's what's important to me. Community is critical, but to keep community together, you have to have some type of mentorship within that community.
Yeah, speaking of a world in crisis, sometimes there's technology in crisis, and it feels like StreamYard's popping in and out on you, but we're going to keep powering on. Hey, so I looked up, there's a Harvard study on this, believe it or not, and this is a study in 2019, 37% of professionals. So this is just professionals. I got to think that it tips off big time when you're talking outside of the professional range. 37% of professionals have a mentor, and 76% believe mentors are important. Now, this is in the business world, right, where this is drilled down your throat about leadership and production and skate to where the puck is going. So get somebody to help you ramp up quick in your job, right? Somebody who's 2 steps ahead of you. I mean, I don't know in our culture if that's really talked about too much, outside of, you might think that your parents are your mentor. And I'm not talking about your parents being a mentor.
If 37% of the people in business believe that
professionals, that is just professionals.
mentorship is good, I'm going to tell you that the other 63 are not working at the level that they should be. Because if you're relying on only yourself and not the other people in your world to expand your ideas, then you're not as successful as the 37% that are realizing that help is good. That's now that can go right into segue right into just personal life, right? If you don't have mentorships in your life, then you're missing. And if you're not a mentor in your life to other people, then you're not giving back the gift that you've been given, whether that be just through, the gospel or through just the fact that you have a lot of work experience and a lot of life experience. And so that's what community is so important, is so you can discuss that stuff that's going on in your world. And you can, it's not my job to unload any or carry anybody's grief in a backpack, right? But because I don't take yours and put it in mine, but I will pick yours up and we'll put it on the ground so we both don't have to carry it around.
So I went and tried to backtrack and double check here because I wanted to know about personal mentors, and nothing came up. So it makes me think, in our culture, like, people don't talk about mentor-mentee relationship from a personal perspective.
I don't think it's something that is, here's the problem with a lot of things in life is you hear a word and you think of it. So if I ask the average person what mentorship means, a lot of people are going to say, well, it means that I wasn't successful and somebody had to help me. And that's absolutely not even close to being true. But that's the perception, is that if I need a mentor, then I'm weak, right? And that's not the truth. If you accept a mentorship, it means that you're strong. It means that I understand that I don't have all the information and I don't have all the answers. There's no mentor that can't be mentored as well. I mean, I'm only, going through this with what I have today from what I've learned. It doesn't mean that there's even somebody with less time in this world might have a better angle or a better idea than I do. What I have to do is be open-minded and willing to understand that I don't have all the information. And asking for a mentorship or needing help is a sign of strength, not the sign of failure.
Wow.
Ask for help when you need it.
Wow.
It shows your strength.
Wow. That was a bomb dropper right there. You're right. It's a sign of strength, not a sign of weakness. How would you suggest people reach out to potential mentors?
We all have them in our lives. And you know what? Here's the problem, though. How do you find a mentor? You have to communicate. You have to talk. You have to look. You have to seek. Go to places where you hear people's messages that are strong. It might be in the church. It might be at work. It might be anywhere, right? That you hear this. Get these friendships. But again, the cautioning thing is, well, why don't I have them? It's because I'm not communicating. Maybe I'm afraid. Maybe I'm afraid to risk it. Maybe you're going to look at me and say, hey, he's weak because he needs help, right? And that, again, the strength is surrender. The strongest thing you can ever do in your life is surrender. And that goes against everything your dad told you. No, we're going to fight till we die, right? Well, that's the biggest bag of crap, Charlie, I've ever heard. When you surrender, it means that you're willing to go, I don't have the answer.
Yeah.
And somebody does. And wherever you find that answer, church is a great place to start. Just go with an open mind and don't expect anything and just see how it goes, and just and be open and willing to see that maybe there's a different way to live this life than I already have. And I don't think church is always the answer to everything either.
Yeah. So you could step into a small group, a smaller, more intimate setting. You could have coffee chats with people. You could attend events where you're doing side by side. If you're a male, I know males typically like to do stuff side by side. That's a good conversation. Hey, I'm going to bring up another Bible verse to close out.
Hit me with that.
This point number 2. It's Hebrews 10:24 through 25. And let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, as some are in a habit of doing, but encourage one another. So, yes, I mean, what this verse is saying is meet together and encourage one another in life, right? This is a part of the experience. If you're not doing this, probably you're, let's call it, you're susceptible to potential things. Let's just put it that way. I don't want to get into specifics and have somebody send me some hate emails. So, hey, stepping into our third topic. Now, this one is pretty interesting. Technology and spirituality. So, I had a conversation this weekend with some people I really respect. I actually went to dinner with some incredible people this weekend. And as I'm branching off in this new setting for me, they asked me, "Hey, what's up? What's going on?" And I have a handful of passion projects. One of these is technology and meeting people. What I say where they are. So how do we, stealing Wayne Gretzky saying, how do we skate to where the puck is going, right? So, and I feel like there's meeting people where they are. That's what I'm focused on. So I was talking about technology, and I didn't go through everything, right? I went real high level, and then the comment came back from a person I really respect that said, "Well, I think the Antichrist is going to come through AI," and I said, my response was, "Well, that could possibly be because." How big it is and how fast it would move, I don't know. I mean, only God knows that. And my response was, where my head is just like I was talking about that girl on TikTok, is that let's say somebody mentions the word suicide on a social media app. Somehow the AI would be able to pick up that, algorithm, the word, and then the communication would be, outreach of God's love. Or, I mean, when you think about suicide hotline, like you say suicide, all of a sudden suicide hotline comes up. Or there's some type of connection there that a person is hurting, not just suicide, right? The person's hurting there, and then you can come in and help them by bringing Jesus to them. So I explained that to them. What do you think about technology and spirituality coming together?
Well, the first thing I would say is that the devil's going to use whatever technology is at the time to get his message across as well. He's going to be in print. He's going to be on TV. He's going to be wherever the next technology is, because he's not. I mean, that's their job. Their job is to use technology as well as ours is, right? So that's why it's critical that we're in the technology, because it's going to be there anyway. I mean, whether you think it is or not. So how are you going to fight it? Because that's really what we're talking about, is how we're going to fight the negative message with a positive message, right? I think it's the greatest thing ever. I was on a board one time. Now, this is about 5 years ago, and it was in Scottsdale, Arizona. And my boss sent me over there because he had bought into this technology company, and he was talking about could AI replace a salesman? And I went over there and said, there's no possible way that AI could do that, because, it's the personality, it's the thought, it's how I can play this out, right? And by the time I got done there and they drilled me on all these questions about that, I realized that, yes, you can be replaced as a salesman, and probably the AI could do a better job than the actual salesman did. And that's a scary thing to think, but I believe that. And so, do I believe today that technology and spirituality mix? Absolutely, they do. Why not? In this era of minutes mean, or seconds mean a lot, right? In situations, it's important to get that information quickly. And the thing about technology, it happens immediately, right? It senses that. I think it's not only is it going to be used, I think it's already being used. And I think it's the greatest thing ever. And I was the first guy, Charlie. The reason I bring this up is I was the guy that said, I was the naysayer that they went, send him over. He don't believe in anything, right? And I left there going, this is going to change the world. It's going to change the world. And I go back to what a great platform to be able to have. Could we build a platform where we could have community that could have information quickly, right? And that it could get the message across faster, because we have to play with whatever the game is today. You skate towards the puck. It may not be ice today that you're skating towards the puck. It might be some other technology or some other surface. But we have to go with whatever surface is out there to get to the puck the fastest. And right now, that's AI.
Mm-hmm. So a couple ways I use AI. I know it's not like a mainstream thing. In 5 years, it'll be totally different. It's kind of like mobile phones. So there's a ramp up time. So I use AI a lot when I'm talking to somebody, and kind of like how we're having a conversation, and all of a sudden something triggers in the conversation, and I use AI, whether it's scripture or whatever it is, and plug it in, and it enhances the conversation around topics. It's exactly what we're doing on this podcast. I have a personal habit of doing that, whether I'm talking on the phone or in front of a computer or whatever it is. And I think it's very, very beneficial to the conversation. I will tell you on the subject, so I'm not going to read a verse here, but I'll tell you on the subject of should we use technology, and from a Bible perspective. And it reminds me of the woman at the well. And the woman at the well was kind of unclean, prostitute, and so forth. And Jesus and his disciples, right? They're walking down the road, and they're coming up to a town that was a Samaritan town, and they didn't. And the Jewish, in their culture, they wouldn't go in that town. They had to walk around the town, so viewed as kind of unclean. So Jesus walks with them. He comes up and he says, "Hey, I need to go. I need to go over here." And they said, "No, no, no, you can't do this." So this is his followers telling the Son of God, right? "No, you can't do this." And then Jesus is like, "No, yes, I am doing this." So it's breaking the culture, right? He totally is going against the culture of the time. You go your way, I'm going to go this way. So he goes to the well in the middle of the day to speak to, let's call it the unclean lady. I'm just going to put it that way, which was like way, way against what you were supposed to do at the time. And to me, that is a beautiful thing. One is Jesus said, forget about the culture, right? It doesn't matter. There's a person in need that needs me there. So is it more about the culture? Is it more about being scared of technology? Right? Like it doesn't matter, right? It's about the people and meeting the people where they are. And that's why I feel like technology is going to play a big part. Whether it's social media destruction of individuals like this young girl we talked about today, or can it also be used to enhance people's lives? Can it be used to meet people in crisis, which is what this podcast is about? It's about finishing strong. So can it be used to finish strong? Heck yeah. But it's not right in front of us.
Well, and to finish strong, we're in our last few minutes, right? Is that I do want to go to number 5, right? Mindfulness and micro meditations, only because that is somewhat a solution to what we're talking about, this crisis that people are in, right? And I think it's critical that we spend the last couple of minutes talking about, what do I do? How do I do it? Some of it could be as simple as putting your phone in your pocket, committing to the fact that, you can leave your phone somewhere else, right? I mean, at work, you can put it in your drawer and not pull it out until lunch, right? There's something as simple as that. But then there's also taking time to just get quiet, and these micro meditations where you ask God to come in your life. Hey, help me out. I need help. I believe that, I have one day at a time. So I live like that. And throughout that day, when I become in crisis, because we all are, the phone's going to ring and it's going to be somebody or something, right? And so I take that time to just ask, hey, God, help me, right? And it's that simple micro, those micro meditations. Finish us out strong here, Charlie. What do you have?
So this is how we're going to finish this out strong. You made me think of there's a couple verses in the Bible, book of Isaiah and so forth, and it says, if you reach out to God, like maybe you have no faith in God, if you reach out to God, God will reveal himself. So you were talking about prayer or micro meditation. And I was thinking, well, hey, what if you don't believe in God? What is that going to do? And what I would suggest is just ask, cry out to God for help. That's all I would say.
Even if you don't believe, why not try it? What do you have to lose? And that's how I'll finish strong, hopefully. Well, it's been another great podcast. We got our 30 minutes in. I think that's perfect. We're staying on track. We're staying on time. Give the message. Don't beat them with a stick and get it over with. Charlie Smith, have an awesome day. I appreciate you, my brother.
God bless you, my friend. God bless everybody.
Take care. Jay Sreck and C.H. Smith. Finish strong and remember that God loves you. Adios, amigos.